Okay, hello. So it's Simone here from the Maths Retraining Program and joined by a man who needs no introduction, but I will anyway, Eddie Wu, who is coming to us today to share his favourite resource. Thank you very much, Eddie, for joining us today.
My pleasure, Simone.
So Eddie, what is your favourite activity or resource to do in the classroom, please?
My favorite activity, to be honest with you, Simone, it actually changes from day to day and from class to class. But if I had to pick one, it would have to be mathematical card tricks. So these are tricks that like magicians sometimes use this, and they call them self-working tricks, which means that no sleight of hand is required, no special deck or things like that. So long as you have a standard complete deck of 52 cards, you can pretty much do any of these. And the reason why they work is because mathematical patterns and algebra are the things that are underneath the hood making these work. And those are my favorite activities to do in a classroom, and they're a lot of fun. I've done a lot of them that you can see on video, and I'm sure we'll provide some links to people who are watching so you can see a demonstration.
Awesome. I actually watched a few of your videos yesterday and I enjoyed it very much. I have bits of paper everywhere on my desk from where I was trying to work out the trick. So thank you for that. It was a lot of fun. So why, Eddie, why is it your favourite trick?
Yeah, so
activity.
There are lots of different reasons why I enjoy this so much. So the first one requires me to actually sort of lift the hood on a trick. So, you know, if you are the kind of person who doesn't like spoilers, then like turn away now or pause the recording and come back. But I want to show you what it looks like when I prepare to use one of these kinds of card tricks in a lesson. I have to do a lot of thinking and planning. Hopefully it doesn't look like that. Hopefully it looks like it's just all off the cuff, but actually, as with any good lesson, there's a lot of preparation required. So what I'm going to show you is I have this outline here, which basically says two things for a card trick. How does it work? What are the steps you actually have to do? And why does it work? What's the mathematics underneath? So that's sort of the first reason, which I'll get to in a second. So this particular trick here, I did it during actually when the COVID lockdown was happening. I recorded this so that when kids were at home and we were doing this, the Department of Education was broadcasting for everyone. I did this trick on a little whiteboard table, which I was scrolling on and recorded. So the trick here is that if you arrange cards in a certain way, no matter how you arrange them, the sum of the differences that you end up in the middle here, these green numbers, they always end up to 25. However you arrange whatever numbers you end up picking, which is really weird, right? And it's a great sort of aha. I would do it in the classroom, and in a class of 30 students, I would have 15 decks of cards. So they're all in pairs, doing it together, communicating with each other, and so on. And then even though I have not gotten up from my chair or gone near the other students' decks of playing cards, they will all have something different, but they'll all add up to 25. So what I love about this is, number one, there is some delightful mathematics underneath it. And so any activity, I know I've used activities in the past, sometimes to do with technology, where they're fun, they're engaging, but there's not really strong mathematics underneath it, or the activity is a distraction from the mathematics. So a good activity, firstly, it focuses you in on the mathematics. And not only that, it focuses you in on interesting mathematics. So not only is there, as you might expect, some number and algebra in here, but this part here is actually a proof by contradiction. So that's all the way up in extension 2. And then when you are generalizing, there's some lovely algebra and sort of a finite series that you get out of this. So quality number one is that there's some really interesting mathematics. And that's why I wanted to show this thing on screen. Quality number two, it gets students doing mathematics and doing mathematics together. When I think about working mathematically, understanding of fluency, reasoning, problem solving, and particularly communicating, all of these are often done better when they're done with another person, right? If you give 30 decks of cards out, every student can be involved, but actually they miss out on talking to their peer and saying, wait, why did you do that? Or wait a second, you missed something here. I think there's something that we can observe. And so there's all kinds of reasoning and communicating taking place that you don't have to tell students to do. They just start doing it because they're curious, they're confused, and they're trying to make sense of it, right? And then, even though there's more reasons than this, I will share one third and final reason why I love this activity. And it's because its engagement is not just, that's interesting, but it's actually an experience of empowerment for a student. There are lots of card tricks that you can perform without knowing anything about how they work. That's why they're self-working. And so what will happen is that the first 5 to 10 minutes of my lesson is the students performing this, and then they get to the end and it's like, was this your card? And it's like, oh my goodness, yes, it was my card. And the student themselves gets to experience this, oh, I just did a thing. I have power. I am able to do this. Now, they don't know why yet, so we're not finished. But that experience of empowerment, I think, is something which students often lack in mathematics. When students have gaps in their learning, when they have just found this particular concept hard to wrap their head around, it's frustrating, and you're hitting your head against a brick wall and you're getting the wrong answer repeatedly. It's a disempowering experience. And of course, if you stack up a lot of those, that's why many students come disengaged and with a negative attitude towards maths. And so one of the things about these card tricks is the students are doing maths without realizing it, and they feel like, oh, I can do this. And that opens the door to more mathematical activity.
Love that, Eddie. That is awesome. I will say, when I was watching your videos, one of the things that I really enjoyed was the richness of the language that you used, even as you were doing your magician's patter, for want of a better word. I really noticed as a teacher that there was a lot of vocabulary extension, connections being made to other areas. When our participants watch the videos, I'd really like them to watch out for that. My favourite last question, which you have kind of answered, but I'll ask it in case you want to add anything, is how do you use this particular resource or activity or card tricks in the classroom?
Yeah, no, it is worth asking again, because there are a few extra details that are worth mentioning. So, I mean, the basic idea is perform the trick, have the students perform the trick as well, and then step away. Let them work at it. You give them a simple goal, which is another thing that I like about these activities. You don't have like a complicated question. The task is complicated, but the question is very simple. Why does this work, right? How does it work? And so they go away to try and work that out. But there are a few other things that are worth adding. So number one, I often will have students in groups doing this, and I want them to compare with others. When two students are at the same deck of cards doing something, and they're trying to work things out, often the pair of people beside them, so if they're in a table group of 4, right, they're trying to work out the same kind of thing, but they're doing it differently because, you shuffle the cards, it's literally a different order every single time. And when they look over, they will see things that are similar and things that are different, and both of those will reveal things about the mathematics. So I get them working in pairs, but then I get the pairs working with each other. So that's actually quite important. A second thing is, as I wander, I want to make sure I'm not too helpful. Dan Meyer wrote this great blog post about being less helpful to students. Yep. Students are going to get frustrated and confused. And if I leap in too quickly and I say, oh, I see you're having trouble, let me point you towards a hint, or let me give you some guidance, right? I find that universally, at the beginning of when I'm starting to learn a trick, I give too many extending prompts, and it gets in the way of student thinking. The more I understand the trick, I try to learn new tricks every now and then because it's fun mainly, but also so I have more things to teach with. Every time I get comfortable with a trick, I start to realize I help less and I stand back more, or I ask questions more rather than providing answers, or I know when to stay quiet because students actually will get there if I'm patient and don't get in the way and short circuit their thinking process. And then the last thing that I would say is really important is that just because you know the mathematics of how the trick works, that's not the same as being able to appropriately explain how the mathematics works, because what you want to do is scaffold the thinking in such a way that students can actually like stop you and say, oh no, wait, I've now got more thinking that I can go away and start to work out on my own, and it doesn't spoil the trick the way it works. So being able to explain it in that way that's most pedagogically helpful It actually takes like it usually takes me 5 or 6 or more times of explaining it, and then I'm like, oh no, I actually revealed the key piece of mathematics too early, and I can actually push it a bit later on, and students then work it out themselves, and that's much more powerful. So those are the tips and suggestions that I would give to anyone who wants to use these in their class.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.